It is my pleasure to bring you a huge leak. I don't mean a small one, I mean a huge one. I love bringing out so much leaked info that, again, may or may not come true, but it just brings your hype level over the bare minimum so you guys are excited for Final Shape in Year 7, the last year in the Light and Dark saga, because I think all our heads are more tilting to wondering what the heck the Veil is. What is the Final Shape? I want to play Final Shape now. I don't want to play Lightfall anymore. And I'm going to get your hype levels, exceeding that bare minimum in this video. So be aware of that. Be aware if you don't want to be spoiled, because this could come true. It's probably going to. And number 3 is that I want you guys to go get a coffee, go get a chocolate chip cookie. You're going to be here for a while. You're going to be listening to me. And I know sometimes my voice isn't the best because I'm going to read off so many leaked stuff. But it's always so cool when I just say, hey guys, this is going to be blah, 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 blah. The Witness, the Final Shape, the Veil is actually, yeah. And you guys are going to be like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, be aware of that. All right, let's get started with some stuff. So, in this video, here's a little rundown of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about more basic information about Final Shape, some leaked stuff, release date, stuff little like that, deluxe editions, all that type of leaked info. And then we're going to move on to more of the story narrative, some raid info after that, and then we're going to get into some seasons. So, we're going to be talking a bit of a lot, more maybe even the plot of what Final Shape is. So, this could be huge. Like, I don't mean something small. Again, this could be huge. So let's get started with some basic info. Again, all sources will be leaked. So let's start off with some generic stuff. So this leak, as you're seeing up here, does say that the release date of the Final Shape will be March 23rd, 2024. Now, this could happen, again, but I am more tilting to end of February. But Bungie could always push it back a month, with the Final Shape being the very end. The release date can basically scatter as much as they want with this. So it says 100 gigabyte goal expansion, could see that, 80 gigabyte on PC, third darkness subclass to balance light dark subclasses, 3 for each, which is very likely at this point. Could be not, we speculated on maybe only having 2 dark and 3 light, but it looks like Bungie might be aiming to do 1 more subclass. A 12 mission campaign. This one does seem a little bit overkill because we've been having the new legendary campaign system with new huge missions with story narrative plots, and I love the new formula for campaign missions, but it only goes up to 8. So this seems a little bit much. But again, it is Final Shape, and Bungie have been planning it for the last 2 years, so maybe they were planning more of Final Shape over Lightfall, so just to be aware. Campaign main bosses, the Witness will be, of course, it says unknown, which is likely that we're going to face the Witness in the Final Shape. I think that's a given at this point. The raid bosses consisted of Zito Wrath, the Worm God bosses, which the seasons before the Final Shape will lead up just like Nezarec. This could be very likely, as if you didn't know, we did say the Worm Gods in a previous leak video were going to attack the last city in Lightfall. That unfortunately didn't come true, and now with the season before Lightfall being released, one of the seasons being called Season of the Deep, the Worm Gods are going to be a critical component in the story narrative. So Worm God bosses are looking pretty likely either in the raid, side quests, or something in dungeons, and probably a lot of narrative threads are going to lead up in the Final Shape with the Worm Gods, which I'm happy about. Zito Wrath, I don't really know. There's many mixed opinions about this being the next big bad after the Light and Dark saga is over, but again, she was in the Light and Dark saga. She was mentioned. Shouldn't her story be concluded in this saga and then something entirely new? Could be, let's see. A 6 encounter raid, 3 bosses, 2 Worm Gods, 1 Zito Wrath, 3 puzzles without a boss, and 1 jumping puzzle. Now, what I was told with the 3 bosses, as we see Zito Wrath Worm God bosses, is that from other leaks, they showed that Zito Wrath will have a boss encounter, Worm Gods will have a boss encounter, and then the 3 bosses will be the Witness. There will be literally like 2 to 3 encounters, literally the Witness, the exact same. So basically, pretend, how you get a boss, and you do damage or something, and you get to that second phase of that, damage encounter of a certain boss, and then you have to do it again. Similar to Callus. If you played the very last mission of the Lightfall campaign, killing Callus, you would have to do the first phase and then the second phase. Imagine if an entire encounter was focused on the Witnesses first phase, then a whole other encounter focusing on the witness's second phase, and then another whole encounter focusing on the last phase of the witness. That would make the witness probably the biggest boss in any raid, at like the biggest boss to have so many encounters to one individual boss. That makes not too much sense to you. It's still very confusing to me, but it could likely come true. DLC will be $60 deluxe with 110. Someone told me that this was a little bit off. It will probably be likely 50 due to how much Lightfall was, and I could see Bungie either going from 40 to 60, and it looks like deluxe could be $100 to $110, something similar that we have been seeing in the last couple of years. Things are again subject to change. Very early concept of the expansion, brainstorming ideas, so be aware of that. A lot of stuff that could again not come true. Again, I don't really think about that March ending release date and some little things in here, but these are some early concepts that could, come over to the final product. Let's talk, boys, about the story narrative. The story is 12 missions involving the Witness, Zethu, but the Witness and Zethu survive. However, the Witness does lose his original body, which we all know as Megamind, if you know that meme, which we will then fight his final shape after the raid in a dungeon-like activity. Won't be a pushover activity. It can be compared to contest mode raid difficulty. If that really was kind of vague, like not great, sentence grammar, this is what I'm exactly reading, by the way. Zethu escapes out of the portal, which then it goes into the Traveler, which will be the first time we will see what's inside the Traveler for the final shape raid. And once we kill Zethu and its worm gods, we finally get to see the Traveler's physical shape, which will be a female that we will help her out of the Traveler in a post-raid activity because it's been trapped in the Traveler and was forced to be its paracausal body for just like the Witness. We need to help her escape because when the Witness cut into the Traveler, it did damage to her body, which she will die because Bungie pretty much wants to kill off the Light and Darkness characters fully so they can start the new saga ground up without using similar allies or enemies. Holy crap. Now there's some little things in there that look very likely to happen, but there's some, they definitely added in the last 2 to 3 years. That I feel like they wanted to do so they could close the saga up. Firstly, the female body that we were mentioned in this was actually something in previous concept art from before Destiny actually began. Funny fact. So seeing that actually happen, like a whole full circle, is actually very intriguing to me. So seeing that actually happen, if that is likely to happen inside the Traveler in some sort, it will be pretty cool. I feel like there is a individual somewhere in the Traveler, because I feel like it has to be speaking of some sort, and there has to be some paracausal identity in it, so that would make a lot of sense. And then, of course, the whole entire Lightfall story at the very end has to have some, repercussion to what Final Shape's story is. Let's talk about more of this. So before the final shape, the Guardians learn of the Veil and the big portal on the Travel, which is the Veil as a portal. Then the start of the final shape, the portal will lead to the destination. The destination will contain everything of Destiny. Pretty much it will contain portions of Sunset and D1 planets and contain relics of the Witness, which allows us to obtain a new subclass after the Guardians are done studying the relics, which will end up being called Trinity, which will be orange, red, black, scheme subclass, kind of like Solar and Siva and somewhat Void combined into one. We fully unlock the subclass post-campaign and raid. So, looking at that, I do feel that some of it is likely to happen. We talked about this, about the final shape destination in one individual video, about one of our, legitimate leakers saying that the new destination will have parts of the Dreadnought and some like parts like we had all over D1 and D2, and apparently Cade could have some sort of mention and reference, being a character that will come back. So the last destination in the Light Dark Saga is likely to have some threads to everything we have done in the whole last decade, which is likely to happen, so this more supports that part of that leak. Now, as we talk about this last portion of this, is that we get access to the portal once we learn fully about the Veil in the season before the final shape, which then we create a device, which Banshee Clovis that helps us with, I guess, to be able to go through the portal without dying. Banshee's the first one to go through the portal because he was willing to die if it meant the Guardians would live, because before that he fully learned that he was Clovis Bray and what Clovis actually did. So this supports another whole little thread, is that we're going to fully learn about the Veil in Season 23. Not Season of the Deep, not Season 22, 23. And Season 23 will likely be at the end of this year, so that really just hurts that, in a big way. It's like, yay, we know about it, but two, we literally won't know the Veil till the end of this year. I hate that. That's the only thing I really hate about that. I wish I learned about it now. Now, we do know that Season of the Deep will consist of a huge quest and a new gun that was in the promo art for Lightfall that will give us more, information on what the Veil is, but I don't think Bungie will go on and reveal it in the second season of the year. So this really sucks, because this is likely probably going to happen, because Bungie has a way of not releasing that, narrative thing until the very end, apparently now. So, where I am going to say I like Bungie for some, of course, reasons. I love the game that they have. Hate that love relationship. This really just make me hate Bungie, because they're literally saying, hey, guess what? You bought a campaign. You're not going to be able to learn about it till Season 23. Over than that, Banshee Clovis, I do like that little thread. I'm glad they're not going to be ending. We know we had Rasputin's finale in Season of the Seraph. At least Clovis will have some sort of part narrative. Of course, people are like, oh, he's going to be disciple of the Witness or something. I hope he, just be I don't know, chill and help us actually beat this thing. Who knows? So, yeah, that pretty much ends off that topic. So, of course, as we are talking about seasons, let's get into some stuff about the Veil now, because I just was talking about it. So, the current and next 3 seasons will be getting more information on Veil and Neomuna. I feel like that's a given at this point. Next reset, we're getting a small bit in the Vexcalibur mission with a secret room with references to the Veil and talk with Asher, which is, of course, we know that Asher is now in the story. Nothing major will be learned from this interaction. That sucks. Next season, we're getting an official quest to find more about the Veil on Neomuna with a strand aspect and hand cannon as a reward. Like I was just talking about, you must own Lightfall for this quest, and it will explain more why the Veil exists, but still leave players unsatisfied. Yay! The Season of the Deep dungeon will feature another secret area with references to Neomuna. Players must either own the dungeon key or Lightfall annual pass to play this. Again, that's so dumb. Area is interesting, but similar to Vexcalibur, and not as impactful to the story of Veil and Neomuna. Season 22 has very light story beats, and there's a few Veil Neomuna references that impact and are part of the overreaching seasonal story. Season 23, we're getting another official quest that wraps up Lightfall, finishes the story of the Veil and Neomuna, similar to the Season of the Deep's quest, where we explore the nature of the Veil. Players must own Lightfall for this quest and will be unrelated to the season. Season 23 Dungeon will feature tormentors in another hidden room for the Kados with a mural of the Witness and the Traveler. Dungeon has small story beats throughout and sets up the final shape. Alright, from that little vague thing with seasons, that really just makes me feel unsatisfied for year 6 overall, and I don't like it. I do like that we're getting a lot of story beats and we're still getting references, but the way he went out and said, hey, guess what? You're still going to be unsatisfied for this Season of the Deep, Season 22, and you're probably not going to get a lot of information till Season 23. I basically won't need to worry too much about the story narrative in those 2 seasons now, because I already know by leaks that I'm not going to get what I want. This really sucks. Year 6 narrative has to be really good in these seasons, whether if it's referencing the Veil or its own normal seasonal story that has nothing to do with it. Season of the Deep, Season 22 and 23 are very crucial if players are really going to want to buy seasonal, seasons going forward. So Bungie has to go all out on these seasons. Even if it's not anything to do with Lightfall, they better just go all the way. At least we know some little stuff, little more references, but again, I don't like being learned that I'm not going to be satisfied in the end. That really just makes me feel like, oh, guess what? Season of the Deep's not going to be worth it. So that hurts. So let's talk about our last topic in this video, the raid. So the Witness won't be the raid boss. Main reason is Bungie wants all types of players to be able to beat him and not be gatekept through a raid such as Oryx, for example. He had a story variant and a raid variant, so that could be the case for the final shape. It's just that Bungie needs to close so many ties for lore reasons, etc. That makes perfect sense. If I don't like playing raids, pretend if I didn't do any raids like I was back in D1, and I couldn't kill the witness because it was tied to a raid, that will really hurt off a lot of things. I like that. I hope Bungie actually goes in more of that and finishes it off in the campaign. And we've been hyping up Zethu in so many seasons so far, fighting its forces, making it more and more powerful, which means it belongs in a raid if we're killed that many of her forces. So the witness won't die in the campaign exactly, through just his body will fall and will uncover his true appearance, which will look like nothing Bungie ever created before, pretty much a worm god that can transform into anything it wants, which we will kill inside a 12 or 6-man mission. Whenever Bungie decides to do it, it will be a dungeon-like mission, which the witness will be the final boss, and it will be so much harder than normal missions such as preservation. His cloak will fall, he wears the darkness, it will show his true physical shape, kind of like how the worm was attached to Savathun, but the witness has the cloak instead of a worm, which his cloak doesn't feed off death, it feeds off its disciples, and once they're dead, the cloak will start to become more and more dangerous to the point that the witness will show its true identity because of the cloak is kind of like a mask for the witness, and is why the witness looks the way he does. Ooh, man. Yeah, that is a lot in terms of the raid info. Now, again, like I'm going to just roll back a little bit. I do like the part where they were saying that I feel that Bungie are probably going to make it so it's going to be tied to the campaign. Maybe some little ties to the raid, but a 6-man mission about ending the witness good, for good. And I feel like Bungie needs to know that. But a lot of players, even though so many players played Root of Nightmares, there were so many who didn't. If Bungie has said that this game has millions of players, but only like 200,000 completions, again, that's nothing apparently. But I don't know where millions of players are because I don't see it on the Steam charts and anything else. But even so, we need to know that the witness, it won't end in a raid, and I feel like there has to be more to the thread. I feel like final shapes, post-campaign stuff, post-raid stuff will be all about the witness's downfall, and that's what I'm going to like. The final shapes campaign will literally lead from the witness falling to us actually killing it, which I hope will happen. In terms of the appearance, like we were just going over, I do like what they said. I feel like the witness has this entire huge, way of what he does, what he looks like, and I feel like Bungie has never planned a villain like that. Oryx looks great. People say Gaul isn't the best. People say Revan is great. So I think the Witness will probably be one of the best in-game bosses we have ever faced, of how it's been built up and how it's been looking over the years. So that's great. All right, so conclusion so far. Some big stuff to go over as we, close off this video. Expansion is likely going to have a third Darkness subclass according to this leak. Again, that's like a 50-50 at this point. Release date in March. This could also be a 50-50. Bungie could plan to release it in February if they're keeping their year cycle, which could likely happen, or Bungie could push it back to any date they want in 2024 if they want to have this expansion be the best it can be, which I feel like matters. Quality over quantity, but Bungie probably has been planning this since Beyond Light, mid-year 4, time, so we could see this expansion already be more done than Lightfall and Witch Queen. So time will tell on that front. In terms of the seasons, like we were going over, it looks like we won't learn anything huge about the Veil for the Season of Defiance. Season 22 and 23 will really, give some references, but it looks like the last season, again, Season 23, will bring really what a lot of the questions from Lightfall will answer, which won't release until around November of this year, which really does suck. Doesn't give us any info on the returning raid, but it looks like it could be Wrath. Some little story beats, they said, and I like how he does reference Siva and Solar to the third Darkness subclass. Could be a little thing there, but time will tell. In terms of the story, there could be a lot of implications in there, and it looks very true, using that woman figure as something inside the Traveler, and we have seen that in 2013 in concept art that was supposed to be in the story, which was never in the Destiny 1 original story, so they're probably doing a full cycle again into that. That was a lot. I don't know how I stand with all of it. However, there is some accurate information I could see. I really, again, could see Bungie not giving us a lot of good info about the Veil until the very end, which really sucks. I hope the seasons going forward are really good, though. But overall, I am, at least good to know that I have a roadmap in my head now, depending if this leak is accurate or not. Again, take leaks with a grain of salt, guys. But again, knowing that I have like a roadmap of what we're going to get and what the story narrative is going out all in the future is great. We didn't really talk about the power level stuff, but there is some little things in there that I did say in my power level rework leak video that it looks like power will be adjusted to artifact power, and it looks like there's more images now, going into that. We really don't need to cover a lot of it again, because I've already said it, but basically it will be transferred to artifact power, and sunset gear and stuff will be gone, and it does, give me hope, as they did say that all the sunset destinations will probably have a huge, returnment, it's not even a word, returning to the final destination. So knowing that stuff probably is likely to return to the final destination in the Light Dark Saga in the final shape destination, it's probably likely that they could be setting up a lot of stuff with, okay, here's all the here's all the sunset weapons back, here's all the sunset destinations back in the final shape. Could be something. I don't know. Those are just a little of my thoughts on that front. But yeah, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you guys did, subscribe, like, it would mean a lot. But I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, guys.